So what is highest best use in real estate development? So what this basically means is that it's like a 4-step test. Is that what can we do on a site based on the zoning, based on financial feasibility, and something that gives you the most profit with lowest risk. So 4 questions. 1, is it possible? Can I put 10 units, an apartment building, a commercial and retail complex, a movie theater, you name it. Can I put X on a site? Yes, I can. Okay. Is that use permissible? What does that mean? That means that every site in every piece of land has some sort of a zoning on it, whether it's residential zone or commercial zone. And zonings come with different restrictions, height restrictions, setback restrictions, different kinds of covenants on the site, what you can and cannot do. They stipulate that, okay, right next to a residential house, there can't be a factory that manufactures piston rings, for example. So that's what all those things are actually controlled by zoning, so that there is a neighborhood character that is maintained all throughout where we live, the spaces that we live in. So second thing is your zoning and understanding what that is, and is that financially viable? So if I can put a building that could be 20 floors with 50 apartments and so on, but is that financially even viable for me to do that right now? Now maybe it's not financially viable right now because the interest rates are high, or something is or the credit is tight at the moment, but it could be financially viable later down the track, or there could be a change in those zoning policies that dictate what can or cannot be done. So unless a site is financially viable, no one's going to put their hand into it, and no one's gonna take the risk to develop it because it's not financially viable. Second thing is you got to make sure that with it's like the path of least resistance. Just like Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank says that, the path of least resistance, which basically means the lowest amount of risk for the highest amount of gain. So there's got to be a balance between these two things. And why do we do these things? We look at these 4 things because they contribute to getting a residual land value, which is like, in other words, simple word, it's like a land valuation based on what you can do with it. So think of it as, if there is a site, I'll give you a very, very simple example. Let's say this is a site, and currently looking at it, I can only put 2 units on it. And based on the 2 units, I can afford to pay 1.278 for this, and I can still make 10% profit. But let's say now, instead of the same site, everything is there, but somehow the density has increased, and now I'm allowed to put 4 units instead of 2 units. If that was the case, if you look at now, and I can now afford to pay 2.2 million for everything is exactly the same, but the thing is now I can put 4 of these instead of 2, and that changes 2 things for me. 1, the profit that I will make in the project. So because it's only 2, the profit that I'm making is only 200,000 here. But when I do 4, my profit suddenly jumps up. Why? Because my baseline cost will remain the same for a lot of things. And also what I can afford to pay for the land, which is the biggest reason we do this. For example, the value of the land based on its true development potential. So right now we are getting 4 instead of 2, and that means I can afford to pay more. Now, this is all based on the target margin that I want to make on this project. So in my first example, I say because it's relatively low risk, it's only 2 units that I need to put in, I'm happy with the 10% margin on cost. But when I have to do 4 of them, that means I need to borrow a little bit more. I need to take a longer risk. The project might extend a bit longer. I need to make 20%, but based on the 20%, I can still afford to pay 2.2 million for the value of the land. And that's how these are both related to each other. The fact that what we can do on the side, it's all determined, it is all required to determine what is the maximum price I should pay for the land. So the whole exercise needs to get to the valuation of the site based on its highest best use. Now that valuation would only be there after you've gone through these 4 questions. So that's residual value of land. There's a full article on this thing that you can have a look at. I'll put a link in the description, and you can have a look at it. And it uses another example to show what it is. But it's very quick, it's short, and you can use 1 Minute Feaso to quickly figure out what you can do with it, what you can do with any site, what you can do for what you should actually pay for the site over there. And sign up for 1 Minute Feaso. Then you can join Edge, and you can leave create a post for what you are trying to do, and let me help you out with this thing. Thanks.